two very good reasons to watch this review here now. First of all, an EV that drives with petrol. How is it possible? 1,200 kilometers, 750 miles of promised range. How much of that is real? And second good reason, this is here the updated Nissan Qashqai, the facelift. How good is it? What have they changed? And is it one of the better or best compact SUVs as for price performance? We'll tell you also all about the two different engine concepts we have here. So tune in now to Autogefühl with Thomas in 4K, full screen, full length. Let's go with the updated Nissan Qashqai with the N design and this updated front grille, which should remind you of old Japanese armor. You know, these individual dots here, very interesting, but cool, modern design definitely. Deep blue is this very vehicle color here, more a greenish dark color. I'm not sure if the water gets greener the deeper you go. Yeah, maybe some ocean experts tell us more about that. Then the length is 4 meters 43 or 174 inches. 17-inch it starts with, and 20-inch are the biggest ones. N design here comes with the biggest wheels, 20-inch. Of course, that also loses some comfort then, so I would personally not go for the largest wheels. With the facelift here now, the base version still starts with contrasting wheel arches. The mid and higher trims then have the painted wheel arches as well. And here also with black contrasts around the mirrors. I think overall very nice in look. Also then here modern tail lamps, updated design here. That looks really modern, definitely with the individual dot design here. E-Power is this concept here for today because they have a normal turbo engine, but also this so-called E-Power version. I'll soon explain you all about that, you need to know. But I think exterior design-wise, I think they really nailed it. That's also why the Nissan Qashqai has been a very, very successful SUV, especially on the European market, in the UK market, especially where it's also built in Sunderland. Now to the engine choices, a little bit confusing because the one with less displacement has more cylinders. That's the first one, 1.3 liter 4-cylinder turbo petrol engine. But this one here is a 1.5 liter 3-cylinder. And this is connected then with the hybrid powertrain called Nissan E-Power. And what do they exactly mean by that? So this one comes with 190 horsepower, 202 horsepower in the sport mode exclusively. That's interesting. And 8 seconds in the acceleration figure to 1 kilometers an hour. The hybrid battery here is 2.1 kilowatt hours, so already quite substantial. And the special thing here about this one is that it always drives electric. So just by the driving definition, this is indeed an electric vehicle, just that you cannot recharge it. It's not a plug-in hybrid, but this engine here, the combustion engine, runs as a generator. Why do they do it? Because since it's not directly connected to the wheels, but the car is driving electric from this buffer battery, this engine here can always run at more constant RPM. And this makes it more efficient. And now with the latest iteration, they upgraded the system. Before it was working, let's say, quite well, but there was no significant fuel saving difference than to maybe another very efficient pure engine or to some other hybrid. Now they upgrade the system that it's more efficient, less in the consumption and also more silent. So the dB difference is 5.6 dB more silent this system now than it was before, so that it gives you a more, let's say, calm experience. And they promise 1,200 kilometers, 750 miles of driving range and 4.5 liters in 1 kilometers. These are the official figures, like the WLTP driving cycle. So probably it's a little bit higher than that, but we do make the test in like a realistic average with Autobahn, a little bit higher speed, a little bit lower speed, city driving, countryside driving, and then see how efficient is this one, and can this be a real alternative to going all electric, that you can get used to how to drive electric, but you can still refuel. Because I mean, electric vehicles are very efficient already and they're working very well, but not everyone has the charging infrastructure at home yet. And that can be a solution then for those. This is the key fob, slim, light. I think it's pretty cool. And what's also cool is when you look to the side mirrors here with like tinted windows, you can see Leah's hair flying here. This is beautiful, right? So now to the door closing quality. So here you press for the keyless entry, and then, but you can also do it automatically. Then here, Looks quite solid. That's fine. Then inside of the doors, here in the front part is also softened up here on the inside, then microfiber inside in this very trim, and also classic controls here for the window levers and so on. However, hard to pack everything down there. And now more about the cockpit. And important here with this facelift, you can see this is not a dual installation or something, but with the facelift they have made these windows here thicker, the glass, also for better sound deadening overall in the vehicle. Welcome to the cockpit here of the updated Nissan Qashqai. What do we see? New infotainment system, widescreen and native Google Maps support, because the system by software is also backed by Google now. That means you can also talk to it by "Hey famous search engine." I will not say the word now that all of the mobile phones get activated now for you at home. So this looks very modern, and it's good that they just let Google do its thing. Here in this trim here we have also microfiber inside at the dashboard. That's cool, also with a nice deco element here. Glove box is there, not too large. Seats, in this case animal skin, but a similar design just with a different quilting would also be available in a leatherette. So I would rather go with that one, or with the entry fabric seats or fabric leatherette mix is also available. You have to look deeply into the configurator, which is which, depending on what you like. And then you can also keep the price, for example, lower, because I think the Qashqai is especially interesting when you keep it rather low or mid-trim to have the very attractive pricing then and best price performance. Steering wheel has manual buttons also still on it, and also this manual interface for the AC here, fan speed, and also easy solution for the climate, for the temperatures. That's cool. Also for the seat heating, when the car is running, would also have the small lights. So an easy, straightforward user interface, manual volume knob here, for example. That's what I really appreciate. The seating itself, by the way, is really stiff, kind of sporty. I would suppose that the leatherette and the fabric seats are a little bit softer than from the individual like surface dampening. And then here, inductive charging pad is not ventilated. Then this is the automatic shifting lever, D or B mode. There's like a stronger recuperation mode, or E pedal button. Then you have the strongest recuperation. EV button would be that you rather push it into driving electric only, but most of the time it's better when you just let the car do its thing to be most efficient. And also the sport mode is available here with this this selector. And in the sport mode here, 202 horsepower instead of 190 horsepower, only in this sport mode than here for the e-Power. Nice microfiber covering here for the armrest. Then you can fold up this. It's like a split, small cubby hole and a bigger one underneath with the USB-C connectors, where I usually then also charge my phones. The cup holders are not adaptive though. And the driver POV here with the real buttons for the cruise control, for example. Left side is very interesting here, pressing here once. There we go. So here in this menu, and then you can go to a custom mode here for the driver assistance systems, and that also can deactivate the EU beeping chime for the speed limit and so on. Then over to the main infotainment unit. You can see here once again the Google Maps native integration. The rest of the entertainment system is, let's say, interesting to strange. So what I would do here is just use the Google Maps native support, or then Apple CarPlay, Android Auto. Rear seats, now something very special for everyone that needs to install child seats, for example, or if you have maybe elderly passengers or something. Look at that. This rear door basically opens 90 degrees. That's pretty cool. Hard pack on the top, but here in this trim, the nice Alcantara inside at the inside of the doors. Hard pack then here again, and easy access then. Isofix at the outside each. These clips here, by the way, you need to store them somewhere. And then you can fold down this here. Adaptive cup holders are not there, so they are not adaptive. You can see the panoramic glass roof. There is a shade available when I turn on the ignition. There we go, but you cannot open the roof, you know, so you can just apply this real shade then, at least at a very hot summer day. And then as for the space we have here, well, with the knees, it does get closed when I am driving here, when I have like this driver's seat set to me. It's not the longest car, but recently in the Kia Sportage, for example, there was more legroom. And headroom also pretty close, but still works with 189 6'2". Yeah, I think it works in the rear. limitation is the legroom. Could of course be more comfortable from the seats here if you go for the fabric seats or the leatherette seats. Trunk or boot at 500 liters, and it's very interesting because you have some flexible options here. Electric hatch, and then let's first put out this massive cover here so that you can see the stuff better. But this trolley here also fits underneath, and you know, this is the standard here, a meter of 40 inches, but you see it is wider than that, even between the wheel arch, so actually quite wide. And then here, this is then about 34 inches or 86 centimeters. I can fold the seats when I have this cover put away, and then the total length is at 65 inches or 1.65 meters. And the height here also very important. But maybe let's measure that soon, because first of all I want to show you here. You can put this thing up or remove it. You can put the front thing up and also store it like this. Then you can put a backpack there upright in. Here, for example, sound system, the subwoofer underneath. Or you can just remove both of these parts. That's also possible. And then we have here a total height of about 33 inches or 83 centimeters. And that's actually quite good. Starting with the Nissan Qashqai E-Power in this next evolutionary step. And yeah, as the thumbnail said, this EV drives on fuel, and that's exactly what's happening right now. And I'm not sure if you can see it from this camera, but I have the visualization to really see what's going on at the moment, because if you would not have the visualization, it's hard to find out what is active at the moment and what not. So at this moment, the combustion engine is running, but we're still driving electric, because this car always drives electric, no matter if the combustion engine is running or not. But you hardly feel the transitions, you know, especially like here at 50 kilometers an hour, like we have more rolling noise from the tires and so on, you know. And as I said earlier, they have reduced the dB level of the whole system by 5.6 dB. So that is really significantly more silent than before. And I think when we, for example, roll downhill very soon, then probably the combustion engine will shut off again. So it always goes back and forth, and sometimes when you're, for example, going a little bit slower in the city, then it's shutting off again. But you really have to concentrate on it to be able to hear it or see it in the visualization. The only time when you would hear it actively is rather when you have the windows down, or, for example, if you're really driving very slowly and then the combustion engine goes on. But most of the time when you're driving slowly, then it's in the electric mode anyway. And you could also force it, if it's possible, with the EV button here. Recuperation is not that strong usually, but you can also activate the E pedal, and then the recuperation is significantly stronger when you lift your foot off the throttle. Other than that, if you don't have the E pedal activated, you just do the recuperation then with the brake pedal. It will have more or less the same effect. And now, engine has shut off already before going downhill here actually. And yeah, especially at these speeds already, you hardly notice the difference. I could only see it there in the instruments. Rain has also picked up a little bit. And then that's the thing. As soon as you have some other noise, like rain or playing music, or you talk to someone else, then you don't hear it anyway. So indeed, this more or less drives like an EV, but is running on petrol. So the claim is actually true. Very interesting, especially now here in this second iteration of the system. Some other factors, because just before we go for higher speed, suspension here in city driving is really rough, especially with these 20-inch wheels. So I can advise you to not go for the 20-inch wheels, because together with just the standard suspension they have here, it's really, really rough in the ride. So especially when the road is uneven, you might even see that on camera. It's my voice is a very bumpy ride then. So cannot pick these large wheels. They look great, yes, of course, but you should also think about your comfort. Here the whole time combustion engine is off. That of course also helps with consumption, plus recuperation is possible. You also see that visualization there. So overall it is a very relaxing drive. That's the thing. You can already get accustomed to how it is to drive relaxing with this EV driving style. Why not? And it also makes everything smooth because you don't have gear transitions or something like that. Even if you're stuck in traffic or something, then it's just easy to roll a little bit forward, then give a little bit more throttle again, then maybe on the brake again. So all these transitions also in your everyday driving life are super, super smooth. And now some German Autobahn and agile driving experience. We first go off here, take a U-turn basically, and then go full acceleration out. But here I want to show you when we get off. Since the suspension is rather stiff, it has a good sporty feeling to it, you know, and also nice from the steering input. That's cool. So it is fun to drive and steer the vehicle. Also here, for example, in that S corner, that's nice. Here the larger wheels actually help, also because the tarmac is really even and so on. But just when it gets into the potholes and so on, that's a little bit tough then. We'll soon also get into a tunnel where we can see some of the ambient lighting. And here at the moment, of course, once again, everything is off. And I really like this floating with the traffic. That's what this vehicle is really for. But even more so, I'm looking forward to the situation when we floor it all out. And is it then like a CVT that we have like this, and it feels kind of strange? Let's see about that. So this will be very interesting. But here so far, a very relaxing feeling for this vehicle. The concept definitely works in traffic, city driving, and also countryside driving. But does it really work on the German Autobahn? But before that, just a couple of more corners. Here, for example, let's see how far do I have to steer with 90-degree corner. A little bit more than 90 degrees, like almost 180, but still it feels really natural, you know, like the steering input. It's really nice how the car is following my commands. Now the engine, the combustion engine went on again. Yeah, once again, hardly felt that, even though it's not raining now at this moment. And now let's see, when I approach the next traffic light, when does it shut off? Now. Did you hear that?
No.
No, even Leah didn't hear that. And that means something, because she hears excellent ears, not only good-looking ears, but also excellent hearing capabilities. Yeah. But I bet she will hear the engine now when we accelerate it out. And now in the tunnel, you can see ambient lighting, especially here. Passenger side, inside of the door, here around the shifting, automatic shifting lever. So actually quite nice, and it's also set it to this ocean deep color. Then we can also go to the sport mode. Here the instruments go red then. At the moment the combustion engine is still off, but as soon as I'm going to accelerate, it will definitely turn on, and I'm wait until the tunnel is finished, that you can maybe pick up the difference in the audio then. So from 80 kilometers an hour, let's go. 120. 150. 170 kilometers an hour. I think that's enough for now. It's not too loud here. Now maybe like 170 kilometers, and then the wind noise are picking up and so on.
That's fine.
But still fine. I mean, considering the price and the segment of this vehicle, definitely. So, and I mean, we had this electric pushing forward. At the same time, we had like the sound from the combustion engine, but it wasn't too loud. I mean,
It's good.
really silent. Even though like on the strong acceleration, and I think a nice traveling speed here, maybe like at 130 and so on. And here, for example, also the combustion engine was partly off again just when I lift the foot off the throttle, and now it's on again. And yeah, especially at these higher speeds, you don't really feel a difference. It's also stable enough from the suspension when I do the lane change here, and now it's off again. So now I'm rolling all electric, and only if I go a little bit more on the throttle, then it hops on again. So constant back and forth without you really noticing. Yeah, and it was kind of funny, because especially when you have to do the hard acceleration, it is rather spontaneous. So instant acceleration, like with an electric vehicle in a way, and at the same time you hear the combustion engine, but just a little bit. But a massive difference to the previous iteration of this e-Power system, where it's way more silent now. So I mean, Honda also has somewhat a system that is not exactly the same, because there it can also use directly the combustion engine. Here with Nissan, they really decided to, hey, let's only use the electric one for driving, and the engine stays the generator. That's it, you know. So interesting decision. And here now, maybe in the first iteration, it was okay, but it was not that convincing. But here in the second generation, they really, you know, want to make the system more perfect to really be a strong alternative to a classic hybrid approach, and also to the full electric vehicles where maybe not everyone can charge at home yet, and so on. But even more important is now, when we drive a little bit further, different average speed and so on, and take a whole realistic average, does it really make sense consumption-wise? And we can see it works here for our tour today, but also for a little bit longer average, around 5 liters on 100 kilometers, 47 mpg US, 56 mpg UK. And if you rather drive some 130 kilometers an hour on the motorway, constant, more like, let's say, like 70, 80 miles per hour, then it would rather be 6 liters on 100 kilometers, 39 mpg US, 47 mpg UK, which is still quite decent. So yes, the system overall works. It works even better when you don't drive too fast. So a lot of city driving, countryside road and so on, and steady motorway speeds, which are not that high, like in Germany, for example. So other countries with lower motorway speeds would be an even better use case for that. So indeed, yes, it drives electric, but you can still refuel it. So that might be like a bridge technology for all those who do not have the charging possibility. That's very interesting, and it brings a calmness to the drive. You don't have like gear transitions and so on. And with the facelift, as I said, they have also improved the noise deadening overall of the vehicle with the windows, plus that this e-Power system is more silent. So it's a very interesting, different solution to a hybrid car. Or what do you think about it? Exterior-wise, I think it works very well. Interior also with a nice and good build quality. I would also go for the animal-free seats, which they have a lot of choices there. The only thing is that I would not go for the 20-inch wheels, because that makes the ride quite rough, I gotta say. That was probably the most negative point. Everything else, I think it's a good round package, and also good space offering and so on. And pricing starts around 34,000 euros up to full spec e-Power and high equipment 50,000 euros. But I think it's still a good package, good offering. And the UK price in pounds would be, if you do deduct about 4,000 and so on, then you have the pounds prices. And a similar package at a similar pricing would, for example, be the Kia Sportage, which we have recently driven for you, and more expensive, the VW Tiguan.